Well, good morning, everyone. We are in Singapore, if you recall from the last episode. We are traveling the world in search of glory, riches, and a bet settled. It would seem that we have nowhere to go. So we've actually been traveling for 39 days, which means we might be able to make it across in the 80 days. It's really exciting, except I have to sleep. Sleep is for the weak, and the tired, and the sleep-deprived. Singapore was a British colonial port peopled largely by Chinese, Malays, and Indians, and fueled by rubber exports and opium wealth pouring into the new banks. I walked along the harbor front, because danger means nothing, and spied brightly painted airships and well-rigged boats heading for distant ports. I inquired about vessels headed for Batavia. No. The Australian town of Brisbane, because there were valuable things in the market for Brisbane. And a rubber merchant laughed bitterly in my face. This is going to go well, because I know what I am doing. We have no business with them. Criminals and colonists. It is Australia. Why would any Singaporean go there? Oh, it was a woman. Okay. Why would any Singaporean go there? And I'm sure she's Chinese, because that's what they said they were largely peopled by. I shudder to think, why not? Working with the locals. When in Rome, or rather, when in Singapore. The woman laughed again, and I moved on, to ask instead about Batavia. And a Chinese sailor pointed me in the direction of a sailboat, which bore the rather insalubrious name Spicy Jake. I wouldn't go to Batavia, even if you paid me a king's ransom, the sailor chuckled. Why is that? I heard that the natives are fighting the Dutch colonists. I have a nose for bloodshed, the Chinese sailor shrugged. I may have mentioned this before. Terrible with accents, not even gonna try. Then again, you rich people do whatever you want, so why am I bothering? Thank you for the warning, because no matter what I say, he'll think I'm rich. Have you eaten hardtack out of a shoe? No? Then you are rich. The sailor jerked a nod and went back to his companions, leaving me to contemplate his advice upon the Singaporean dock. New routes discovered, which means I can go forward instead of, well, south. You know, I am now in rather warm climes. I think I need not my fur-lined boots. Monsieur Fogg cast up his accounts, as the English say, all over a shrub, and then fell into a feverish daze. We were forced to stay put. It's clear to me what has happened. Cholera. No doubt our stay in Manila is responsible for his malady. My master cannot seem to keep a bite of food or a sip of water. He bears it all with uncomplaining silence. Stiff upper lip and all that. Good chap. But I will not record the detail of his suffering here, because that is unnecessary. How long does it take to recover from cholera? About time. And I cannot agree more. It's time to go. Come on, you've already spent 3 days here. We were so on track. And now we are not. And we are losing money each day. I'm not a child, Passepartout, he says sternly, but then drinks meekly. Because, gosh darn it, you need to heal. I believe he's returning to health. Come on, man. Indeed, I see color on his cheeks once more. Good. Oh. We are never getting out of here. His fever broke. I could almost embrace him, but I shouldn't. Thank you for your attending, Passepartout, he said simply, adjusting his garrote. Now, it is past time we left this place, don't you agree? Yes! You just chewed up all our money. Embark. Thank you very much. Let's go! South. The only boat. The only boat. I can speak words. The only boat we could find from Singapore headed through the Pacific Islands to the fort of Batavia was the Spicy Jake, a Dutch vessel crewed by... Yeah, that's what I thought. Decent men of fortune. When you're a professional pirate, you're honest, brave, and free, the soul of decency, You'll be loyal and fair and on the square, and most importantly, when you're a professional pirate, you're always in the best of company. I gulped with alarm, but we did not stay ashore. The atmosphere around the pirates was tense, to say the least. We made a special effort to befriend them, which essentially meant I sat up on the sun-soaked deck and asked them to describe their bloody adventures in the mountains and tree-topped ridges that we passed, and hopefully I might learn a little bit of swashbuckling in the meantime. Probably not. They seemed keen to talk, though admittedly rather condescendingly, and their talk of throat-slitting went on for many hours. I listened with a raised eyebrow and an expression of disgust, which is a surefire way to win friends and influence people. Your laundry bills must be immense, I commented. Remember, club soda. And the men fell into paroxysms of laughter, slapping me on the back. You, one declared, are a card, which, as I understand it, means I am a two of spades. The second day began with the Batavia in sight. The captain came and found us. I must apologize if my men have made sport of you, he began in heavily accented English. They are children, cruel but kind-hearted. It is no matter, I replied, foggishly. I mean, seriously, like, what are you gonna do? They're pirates, that's what they are, they're sailors! The captain nodded. Thank you for your trust, he said. I like this captain. Many treat us as traitors, as pirates, but we are merely businessmen, dealing in death and small consumer products. He brought something from his pocket as he spoke. And speaking of business, I have a proposition for you. How may we help? I replied. I have been carrying this for some time, he said, opening his palm to reveal a small, gleaming ruby. The dragon's eye, he said. Hopefully it's not as bad as mine, otherwise that dragon is very short-sighted. How I got it is not important. Only that I haven't been able to sell it. I wonder why. It's worth a few thousand to the right buyer, yours for 300. You have a deal! You know what? Why not? I counted to 300 pounds and he placed the ruby with, oh no. It's a fake. May it bring you more luck than me, he said ominously. With that, he swept away. We made port a few hours later. Brisbane. Okay, I need to get to Brisbane. Oh, if we can't find a use for it. New house discovered. Get me to Brisbane and I'll be fine. That's gonna be expecto-okay if I can get to Brisbane. The heart of Verhevenstad, the exalted city of Batavia, was a floating fort of gigantic iron struts, built over the swamplands of Kalibazar, and overlooking the Sunda Kalapa harbor. I don't know how it goes. Dutch harbor hotels and Chinese settlements dotted with Buddhist shrines pushed themselves up in the shadow of the walls, hemmed in by the sprawling, unplanned Javanese compounds. I went on foot because I cannot afford a carriage. An explosion rocked the city. I tried to get a better view, but it was unclear what had happened. A pillar of smoke was rising from somewhere to the north, and all around people were moving in panic. A pipe had burst, oil was leaking, and everyone was dying. As the dust cleared, I saw the exalted city was now leaning. One of its great supports had been blown away. I was close. That was an attack that could not be ignored, apparently, because that's a thing. I resolved to ensure we left the city as soon as possible. Yes, please, let's go. I need money. Before going to bed, I decided to take drastic measures to aid my master and went in search of a doctor. She took my master's temperature with a mercury thermometer. A mild fever, I would say 3 days to recover to full strength. It's too long. Nope, we gotta go. Doctor sighed, did what she could, and left. No, not Auckland. Brisbane. Why do I want to go to Brisbane so badly? It's just Australia. Embark! And off we go. We boarded the Leiden, a Dutch submersible. En route from Batavia to Brisbane. It had a crew of 5 and a surprisingly large cargo hold, which had been converted into our quarters. We swapped a hold full of rifles and gunpowder for a couple of Englishmen. Captain Rosencrans joked. You are gun runners? I asked fretfully. I mean, after pirates? After taking a possibly illicit gem from a bunch of pirates, we could not possibly morally go with gun runners. That's just too far. We just unloaded an excellent cargo at Aceh. Okay. So we are all in an excellent mood, the captain boasted. Welcome aboard. It will be a beautiful journey to Brisbane, unless depth charges have been invented. The first day's journey was along the surface of the water, although, as I understood, we were descending extremely slowly throughout. Something to do with pressure, no doubt. The subject of pressure obsessed the crew, and every corridor of the small craft was fitted with an eye-level barometer. Of course, that is very subjective. I could not help but notice that each barometer had an area marked in the red. Red means stop. Stop means don't continue because you will die. Towards evening, we finally dipped under. The view became dim. There were not even any fish. I trusted to the ship and crew, having done this multiple times, because after all, they were known for the sturdiness of their submersibles that were built before 1900. The crew were in fine fettle, and the larder was well stocked. Apparently selling weapons was a lucrative business, as one would expect. The smell of gunpowder rather discomforting. And slept badly. Monsieur Fogg was not similarly affected and settled himself onto the observation deck with his ledger and a pencil, grandly ignoring the magnificent seascapes that were murkily illuminated by the Leiden's enormous phosphorescent lamps. And off we continue underwater. If I attend to Fogg, he shall heal. Captain Rosencrans wanted to show me her collection. Whoa, it's a woman. There are a lot of women in this game. It's impressive. They were armored in copper plate and fixed with iron spikes all over. Why are they covered in spines? I queried, running my finger along their sharp points. Just in case a shark tries to take a bite out of you, the captain replied with a smile. Are we sure about that? She looked at me blankly. To tell the truth, she said relentingly, they are armored against the attacks of other men. I wasn't sure about that. And not sea creatures, though I was glad of it when I stared down the sharp-toothed maw of a great white last year. I hefted one of the helmets in my hand. It was heavy and leather-lined, with thick plate glass lenses with polished tortoiseshell surrounds at the edges, because again, as the crew is so obsessed with, pressure breaks things. Are you afraid of the water? The captain asked. I do not feel the ocean particularly, I said offhandedly, but I am aware of the dangers it can pose an unwary traveler. Rosencrans regarded me levelly. Find a great sense of peace in the ocean when I dive. Perhaps you should try it? Yes, please. Perhaps I will, I answered. She said, and I suspected it would not be the end of our conversation in the matter. The Great Barrier Reef is one of nature's great wonders, Captain Rosencrans said to me at breakfast, holding out a diving helmet with one hand. Would you like to experience it up close? Yes, I would. And followed her to the preparation chamber, where I managed to put on my spiked diving suit without puncturing myself. Always a good thing. Any advice? I asked, having never done this before. Breathe deeply, and remember that the creatures out there are more afraid of you than you are of them, she added. Your dive will be easy. I don't buy that. She fitted my helmet and checked the seal. The air inside tasted stale. I lumbered behind her into the airlock and watched as the captain closed the hatch behind us and gave a thumbs-up gesture at me. I returned it. I saw her smile behind the glass of her helmet, and she pulled a lever, and the outer door slid slowly open. Seawater began to pour into the now unsealed chamber. The captain grabbed the back of my suit and pushed, and I was in the water and sinking, as would happen when one is completely encased in metal and glass. Flailed and took panicky breaths, but I realized I was not drowning. Because there's air. Because I am in a metal bubble. The mud and sand I had kicked up with my landing unsettled. I felt a tug on one of my air pipes, and the captain was standing beside me, but beyond her, the reef. Pillars and archways of living coral made an arcane temple of the ocean floor. I had never seen colors so bright, so deep, deep blushing pinks and indigo blues, searing oranges and butter yellows. I stomped under the archway of lilac coral wreathed with fronds of semi-translucent anemone, a bridal bower fit for a mermaid queen. The captain kept a close watch on me, but I felt still and calm and serene underwater. Outside was a carnival of color, but I could only hear my own breathing in my head, as though I were sitting in the eye of a flash-finned storm. We saw stingrays and black-tipped reef sharks and cuttlefish, which glowed and changed color, and even a new sunk shipwreck, slowly dashing itself to pieces on the coral. I walked heavily along a sea turtle, and followed an enormous stone-colored fish, as big as a cow, which nudged up against my hands, tame as a cat. I wondered what it thought of me, pale and shivering inside my suit of iron spikes and armor plate, and I wished I could shed all of it and scuttle along the ocean floor forever. I returned to my master bearing an intricate coral sphere, as though a snowflake had spun itself into a ball. "Are you intending to take that with us?" my master asked, and I shrugged. It was, after all, a true treasure of the deep. Coral sphere should fetch a good price in Auckland if we don't find a use for it. We surfaced a few miles off the coast of Brisbane, and so Monsieur Fogg and I stood on deck as we approached. Sharks followed the submersible curiously, and the crew amused themselves by giving them incongruous names. I was still much affected by the previous day's sights and merely gazed at the water, silent. Captain Rosecrans gave us a little one-handed salute as we disembarked in the sparse pioneer town of Brisbane. And here we are in Brisbane. I must leave this episode here. But man, what a day. Hope to see you all in the next episode where we will go, who knows? I don't know what's going on. But good night, good luck.